Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Pokkén Tournament Primer series with me, NBA BP Tank. For this series we're going to be going over general system mechanics and character overviews to give you a head start online on Pokkén Tournament. So for this first video we're just going to go over general mechanics so we can get our heads around this weird, crazy, lovable game. So, Pokkén Tournament offers a unique blend of 3 different fighting games: the Tekken series, the Smash Brothers series, and arena fighters such as the recently released Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. So we're going to go into the training gym with Lucario and Pikachu, sort of 2 mascots for the game, and we're just going to go over general mechanics. Now the first mechanic the first thing we're going to talk about, which generally confuses a lot of people, are the 2 phases in the game: field phase and duel phase. Now, at the start of every round, you'll start off in field phase. So let's start off with field phase first. Field phase allows 3D movement. Move forward, backwards, left and right. And of course, allows you to move around. You also have sidestepping. Well, you have dashes. You can dash in every direction as well. And is largely projectile based. So let's go over the buttons in field phase. B is jump. A is Pokemon moves, which are essentially your side attacks, like your B specials in Super Smash Bros. R is block. L is assist. Y is range attack, and X is homing attack. Now, 4 of these buttons will pretty much remain the same no matter what phase you're in: jump, Pokemon move, block, and assist. These buttons will remain the same no matter which phase you're in. The only buttons that will change dramatically will be the Y and X buttons, so range attacks, and the homing attacks. Now, similar to the Tekken series, depending if you are in the air or if you're on the ground and you're pressing a direction, you get different moves. So if I just do neutral and I press the projectile attack, I get this normal sort of fireball that I can follow up with another move. If I press left or right, I get a sidestep. I kind of like get this slash to the side and I get to move to the side. So this actually assists me with avoiding other opponents' projectiles and help me to get in. Of course, forward and A will launch me towards the opponent with a very strong projectile that'll absorb other opponents' projectiles. And down and Y is sort of like a really good area of effect. It sort of like pushes opponents away from me. If like an opponent is dashing in towards me, I can use this to get them off me. The X attack is pretty much universal. There's no sort of, you can't press left or right whilst pressing that. It won't offer you anything different. These will always be the same no matter what. It's a 3-hit series, so 1, 2, 3. And that'll get you a homing attack combo. Pokemon moves, of course, also offer different moves depending on what direction I press. So A, just a normal, jumping A, another normal projectile, forward and A, sort of like this bow staff move that helps me move forward and get in, and back in A, sort of like this move that offers that I can charge up and does a guard crush if the opponent blocks. This will actually stuff it if the opponent blocks. So knowing what moves do what, depending on what phases there are, like of course you can see here, there's a nice little guide here. Pokemon moves like these are all, the ones that are in grey are ones that are in both field phase and in duel phase. They can be performed both. And then you got ones that are specifically in dual phase. Same thing with standard moves. You got ones that are universal, universal to both phases, and you got moves that are in field phase only. These are all your ranged attacks and homing attacks. And then you got moves that are specific to dual phase only. Now, very quickly, you can see on like this very first one here, range attack can be cancelled with a Pokemon move. Certain moves can be cancelled with Pokemon moves, and this applies to both field phase and duel phase. So it is pretty much just sort of like doing a combo in Street Fighter. You know, you have your you have certain buttons that can be cancelled into your specials. So knowing what can cancel into what is really important. Of course, another one which we just saw on there as well. Homing attacks. Of course, homing attacks. If the opponent sees you homing attack from all the way back here, they'll most likely throw out a strong projectile in order to stop you. You can cancel with block or with jump. And there are moves that you can do in order to try and bait the opponent to do something. Like I can do that, bait the opponent, and then jump over the projectile into a strong attack, which is a dive kick. It'll help you get in on your opponent. Of course, there's also a weak attack, a projectile attack, which I can do whilst in the air as well as a Pokemon move. Though the one thing you can't do in the air is use your assist or block. So you are pretty vulnerable in the air, so be careful not to jump too much, because you can be hit all the way to landing. So do be careful of that. Okay, so we've got other moves. We've talked about how you can cancel moves in field phase with Pokemon moves. There we go, there's all our different cancels that we have there. Now, how do we swap phases from field phase into dual phase? Say, of course, Lucario is a prime example. Lucario isn't really the strongest in field phase. His projectiles are a bit naff, to say the least. I couldn't really win against an opponent in field phase, really, just using pokes and projectiles. So how do I get into dual phase? How do I get into this? I want to be here. I want to do combos. So how do I do that? Well, the simple way of swapping is by doing a homing attack combo. If I manage to hit with a third hit on in the homing attack combo, it will go into dual phase. The other way of getting into dual phase is by doing what's known as a strong projectile. The universal strong projectile for every Pokemon is forward and Y, though some Pokemon do have other strong projectiles as well. This mainly is for Pokemon that struggle to try and get in, so like Lucario's side projectiles are strong projectiles. Lucario's back projectile allows to swap phases as well, so as you can tell by his projectile move list, he's a character that doesn't want to stay in field phase. All of his moves will most likely put him in dual phase. So knowing what moves can actually swap phase shifts is really, really important. So there's all the buttons for field phase and the movement options and the cancels that we have in field phase. One last thing. Of course, there's another way there's other ways of swapping field phase, but we'll talk about that in a second. For now, let's go over to dual phase. So once again, we'll go over movement options and buttons. So movement is strictly 2D. Unlike the Tekken series, we cannot sidestep upon mashing up and down. We can only move forwards and backwards. Of course, there are forward and backward dashes. We've got jump still remaining on B. Still got our block. Still got our assist. Our Pokemon moves are still the same. Well, the majority of them anyway. Certain Pokemon will gain access to new Pokemon moves. Like we'll go onto the move list here. You can see that we have all of these ones that are in grey. Oh, by the way, just a quick little thing as well. Forward and A is pretty much what you think it is. In field phase, I have to be pressing up and A to do this bow staff move. I have to press up towards the opponent. In phase shift, I have to press the direction which the opponent is facing in order to do that. So it does change the input of it, but it is essentially the same. It's forward and A, backward and A, mid-air and A. Of course, the new one which we get with Lucario is extreme speed, up and A, which is a counter hit move, which we'll talk about in a second. We'll talk about counters and grabs and whatnot in a second. The buttons that do change are our range attacks and our homing attacks. These buttons have now changed to weak attack, which used to be our range attack, and strong attack. Similar to that of the Tekken series, if you press a direction, you gain access to different types of buttons. So these are very important to learn in order to get access to the best combos. The main ones which of course you want to learn are the ones by either pressing forward or back and either weak and strong, or well, of course with either weak and strong, as I'll show you what the up and down buttons now do. Up and down changes your stance. Pressing up, this is your up stance. On weak attack and up stance is a universal anti-air. This will stop opponents from jumping. So of course, say I'm trying to get in with a dive kick, the opponent can easily just do up stance and weak attack in order to get a good anti-air to stop me from doing what I want. Jumping and weak attack is just a nice little air to air. Can also hit air to ground, though it's quite difficult to actually land on depending on which Pokemon you're playing as. So the majority the air to ground move for the cast is normally jumping in strong. So like I said, if you want to stop people from jumping in on you, up and weak attack is a good option. Up and strong is an off the ground move. So this will actually be grabs, which we'll talk about in a second. And it will also be low attacks, and what I mean by low attacks is pretty much every attack that's in low stance by pressing down. Weak attack in low stance is a really good poke. Offers a good amount of range, about just around about 2 character, maybe just over 2 character lengths. And strong attack, whilst in low stance, is a sweet move. Now, let's talk about combos. You can combo quite decently in this game. There are some very good combos in this game. In fact, in the command list, they give you some really good, well, some very simple combos just to start off with. Now, what you want to look for when you're thinking of combos in this game are these ones here, like weak attack can be cancelled with Pokemon move. And like low stance weak attack can be cancelled with Pokemon move. All these ones that can be cancelled with Pokemon moves is moves that we want to be throwing out in the neutral game. So if we manage to get a confirm, we can cancel into a Pokemon move that'll allow us to do decent amount of damage, or allow us to continue the combo. So let's have a look at a very quick one here. Like the universal one for pretty much every single Pokemon is weak attack. Weak attack can always be cancelled with a Pokemon move. Now you also saw there, like we have Pokkén combos, which is sort of like an automatic combo. It's sort of like an auto combo. If you just push the one button, you'll always get like here's a Pokkén combo for Lucario. That's always going to be. But say I don't want this move at the end of my Pokkén combo. Instead of just mashing Y and getting the Pokkén combo, I can do the weak attack, and then I can use a Pokkén cancel. And like I say, in the corner, as you can see there, I decided to go for our new Pokemon move, our up A, in order to achieve a wall splat. So weak attack cancelled into our up A. And at the wall, you can see you got a wall splat there. So let's see what other buttons achieve wall splat. If there's anything else that achieve wall splat. Okay, so the only one of our Pokemon specials that achieve a wall splat is our up and A, so that's good to know. Though it's pretty difficult to actually do anything about it, as of course we slide all the way down and then not able to do much from that. So maybe not the best, maybe it's a good finisher move more than anything. Maybe there's a move which we can do that'll allow us to juggle the opponent. In fact, I know a good one with Lucario. Of course, one of his forward tilts is forward and weak, offers a wall splat right there. So, next to the wall, this is a really good button to be pressing, as it will allow us to go for really good damaging combos. In fact, I can actually get it so it does a multi-hit move. There we go. Ooh, that's big damage. So knowing what can be Pokkén cancelled, what offers wall splats and stuff like that is really, really important. Using the cancels to the best of our ability offers really good damage. Like, look at that damage. So that's how you access to some of your bigger damaging combos in this game. That's by the use of Poké cancels, not just using the automatic combos that the game offers you, but instead actually thinking of what moves, what Pokemon moves work best, depending on if you're in the middle of the arena or if you're next to the wall. And also if normals offer you cancels or if they have certain properties. For example, this forward weak that I can do, depending on if I time it correctly, I actually get more hits in and will splat Pikachu for a bit longer than normal. Now, other things that we want to talk about in this, well, actually we'll go over the other two, the triangle system as it's called in the game. Of course, you fighting game players will probably already know all of this already, about the triangle system, about how normals beat throws, and things like that. But this one is the triangle system in this game is highly emphasized. So first off, we've got grabs, which is just which is in both phases, and then we got counterattack, which again are in both phases. Grab is your traditional Street Fighter throw, and counterattack is exactly the same as your focus attack in Street Fighter 4. So counterattacks beat normals, grabs beat counters, and normal attacks beat grabs. Now there's one last thing to top all of this off, and that's what's called pierce attacks. We go back onto our standard moves and we try and find one that's a pierce attack. So the first one that we have right away is an Aurora Blast counterattack pierce, but that's universal for every character. The other universal pierce attack is our counterattack charge. This will offer a pierce attack. Oh, also, as you can see, just above there on counterattack can be cancelled with control pad plus R. So, really useful if you are struggling to get in on the opponent because he's throwing out loads of projectiles. You can absorb a hit and dash to move forward. So say you're playing against someone like Suicune, who likes to throw out a lot of projectiles, you can use this at every range and cancel it with R in order to get in on the opponent. This is universal for every character, so this is a really good technique to learn whilst in field phase, whilst trying to deal with the opponent. Also in duel phase as well. You can absorb projectiles or punish your opponent for pushing a certain move and punish him for doing so. Anyway, back onto Pierce. Is there any other moves that Lucario has that is a counterattack Pierce? Oh! Yes, Homing Attack Charge! Homing Attack Charge also offers a counter-attack Pierce. A normal tactic for in field phase would be to block the first two hits of the homing attack, and then on the third attack, charge a counter in order to punish him for the massive gap that's between the second and third hit. Like if I demonstrate, if I do the third hit, there's a massive wind up for that final third hit, more than enough space to actually like charge up a counter attack and punish him for doing so. In order to stuff that, of course you do the charge up on the final hit. Not only that, but for in field phase only, the wind up for the homing attack also offers a guard break. That's a really good thing to know as well. So if I put Pikachu into block, guard break. So that's another nice little way to get in on the opponent during field phase. Also offers pierce, so it will stuff both block and will also stuff counter. Now in duel phase, same again, we've still got a fully charged pierce attack, but does not break guard this time round, but will stuff counters. So if I am to go into this and get Pikachu to react with a counter attack upon getting hit, so if I put Pikachu onto normal, say I sweep Pikachu, and then Pikachu will wake up with guard. So you can see there, completely stuffed me out. I tried to push a button there and Pikachu completely wrecked me, but if I put a meaty pierce attack on Pikachu, will completely crush them. Now this is actually really good information to know. Pierce attacks are really, really good. This will stuff a lot of players online, as a lot of players are waking up and using counterattacks straight away. Since Pierce will crush their counterattack, will stop them from throwing, since it's still an attack, it will still hit them. Like if I put it on so it grabs, and I get the... Oh, and if I can get the timing of it better and actually set it up properly. Grab attack. There you go, see, it'll still hit them when they're trying to throw on Wake Up. Though if I mistime it, since I'm doing a counter, and Grab's counter since Grabs beat counters, I need to be careful on the Wake Up, but the timing of this, as it'll actually stuff me. This is why actually using a normal move that offers Pierce properties is actually really good. And finally, we'll beat normals, since it's a Wake Up meaty. So is that actually set now? Normal attack, yes. Since even if I mistime it, if they use a button, I'll just absorb it since I'm in a counter state. So pierce attacks, really, really strong in this game on Wake Up. Wake Up, like you can just do a slide and then force them to block. They'll have to block a fully charged pierce attack unless they want to get some serious damage put onto them. And then when you can force them to block, you can just walk up and then do throws. If your Pokemon is a character that has a command throw, even better. If you're Machamp, if you're Machamp that has a 200 health throw, and you can force your opponent to block, you've pretty much already won the game, because you can easily wipe off over a third of their health just by getting them to respect and block you. So pierce attacks, learn the Wake Up timings for pierce attacks, especially with throws, so that you don't get countered, because this will win you matches, I can assure you this. Okay, so we've got two last things to cover. So we've gone over combos, like how you have to Poké Cancel and how you can use pierce attacks on Wake Up in order to stuff Pokemon, and of course how you need to make use of your different side attacks in order to get wall splats, in order to give yourself properties that you weren't able to access before. We've talked about high stance, low stance moves. We talk about all the different cancels that you have in field and in dual phase. Two last things to cover: assists and synergy burst. Well, actually, three things: maps, assists, and synergy burst. So let's talk about assists first. So there's three types of supports in this game: attack assists, disrupt assists, and just general support assists. So attack assists, like this first one that I have here, will do an attack and will force the opponent to block. Certain attack Pokemon will give you certain properties, like they'll give you, if the opponent hits, if it actually hits, it'll do a status effect like this one right here, as you just saw. Speed decrease. The Pokemon will actually be slower for a majority of time. And there's other ones such as attack, decrease, increase, defense, increase, decrease, things like that. Other attack assists will vacuum in the opponent, push the opponent back. So, for example, Cubone's assist will actually, he'll throw out a bone and it'll be like a boomerang. It'll hit the opponent on the way out and actually pull the opponent on the way back in. Other ones will push the opponent back to allow you to continue pressure with your range attacks if you're someone like Suicune. So going through all the different attack assists to know which one you want is really important. The other one, which we have on ourselves here, Fennekin, is a disrupt. Disrupt is similar to that of a burst. It will do an area of effect and will push the opponent back if they're trying to rush you down. So if you get knocked down and you don't want to deal with the opponent putting a meaty on you upon wake up, you can use this to push the opponent back, give yourself some space. And again, some assists will actually put a status element on either yourself or on the opponent. One assist in particular, which I like to use a lot, I can't remember who it is, but will actually drain some of their meter, and I think another one will actually drain some of their health and actually give it to you instead. So going through all the assists is very important. The final one which we have, which I don't have, but I believe Pikachu has. Not on Snivy, but is Lapras? No, they're both attacks. Well, the final type of assist that we have in this is a support assist, which will give you a certain buff effect, like it'll give you health, it'll give you meter, it'll give you, help remove a state of ailment. If you have like attack down, it'll remove that for you. It'll generally benefit you in one way or another. And again, depending on which Pokemon, which assist you have, it'll do a certain thing. So, like I said, going through all of them is very important. Okay, so second is maps. There are a variety of maps, and the main things that change on them are two things. The first one here, you can see like these little crystal things that are being dropped in the middle here. Well, they just disappeared, but they were there just a second ago. Those are ways of gaining synergy. These are synergy drops. These only occur in field phase. Like if I reset the field, will it come back up now? No, of course it won't when I'm trying to demonstrate this. But there's synergy drops which you can pick up. That'll increase your synergy gauge. Here we go. And depending on what map you are, the synergy drops change. For example, in Haunted House, I believe, at the very start of the round, there'll be a huge synergy drop right in the very center of the map. So, straight from the get-go, you have to fight to control that space in order to get that huge synergy drop. The other thing that's different about maps, of course, is their shape, their size. Some of them are... there's either circular shapes or there's oval shapes. So some of them are large open areas like this one here, and some of them will be narrow corridor-esque size maps. So this can either benefit you or... these can benefit you depending on which type of Pokemon you are. Like, if you're a Pokemon that uses a lot of projectiles, if you're... again, I always bring up Suicune because Suicune is probably the best example for this. Of course, you want to force your opponent to walk down a very narrow corridor-esque map so that they have a higher percentage of being hit by your projectiles. Whilst if I'm someone like Lucario, much more open space will allow me to sidestep and dodge projectiles a lot more easily without the fear of actually hitting a wall. So that is maps. I believe that's the two main things that I need to cover with maps. Finally, we're going to go over burst. So, how do we get burst? Well, of course, the first one which we saw right there is with synergy drops on the map, depending on which map it is. The other way of getting synergy gauge is by swapping phases. You can see right there, just swapping from field phase into dual phase. Gained a huge amount of meter there, just above, just to the left of my health bar there. And of course, swapping from field phase, well, swapping from dual phase into field phase will give me some synergy as well, though not as much. Now, what actually happens once I finally get a full synergy bar? Well, upon getting a full synergy bar, you press L and R in order to do your synergy burst, and your synergy burst has a pierce property. Similar to what we've shown before. So if your opponent, it's really good on wake up. If you wake up and you do the synergy burst, you pop the meter. It will push the opponent back. It will stop them from pushing any sort of button. So you reset back into neutral, and you're able to start your game, so to speak. Now, whilst you're in synergy, your Pokemon moves, a lot of your moves gain a lot of additional properties. For example, our main Pokemon move, our neutral A, can be charged up to make a godlike projectile that does a huge amount of damage. Our side projectiles have a lot more range on them now, do a lot more damage, and we also get access to combos that weren't previously available to us before. Like, as you can see here, there's a category all on its own, Synergy Burst only. And we get a follow-up to our strong attack, and we get a follow-up to our new, well, the Pokemon move which we get in dual phase are up A, so of course we now get access to our follow-up. We sort of do a genocide killer kind of move, which is really sick, and we also get a follow-up to, we get a really good follow-up to our strong attack, which offers us a wall splat. So we can actually just do, this into our new genocide cutter move. Oh, it doesn't work, but you get the idea. The other thing which we get is certain moves will offer more hit stun, allowing us to do combos that previously weren't able to do before. And as you just saw right there, weak attacks do not put us into hit stun. So we can actually punish some Pokemon we can actually punish our opponent into pushing a button, getting a counter hit, and being able to do massive amounts of damage. Finally, the last thing that we get in Synergy Burst is our Super. Upon pressing L and R once again in Synergy Burst, we get access to Super, which again sort of has a pierce property. It pretty much stuffs every single move. So if the opponent is pushing a button and you pop this, it will completely destroy them. The amount of damage which they take is depending on how much health you currently have. So if you're on low health and the opponent is also on low health and you manage to hit this, you're pretty much guaranteed to win the round with that. Though you only get one of these. As you can see, I just tried inputting it once again and no burst attack available. So as long as you block the Synergy Burst attack, you are, for the most parts, you're not completely safe, but you're not going to get instantly blown up. So good job on blocking that. Give yourself a pat on the back. So, just once again, a quick little overview of the things that we covered. We have gone over how to swap phases from field phase and dual phase. Homing attacks and strong projectiles. Universal grabs will get you out of dual phase back into field phase, and also doing a certain amount of damage will also do the trick as well. We've gone over grabs, counters, pierce to cover the triangle system in this game. We've gone over combos with the use of Pokemon moves from confirms with our weak and strong normals. We talk about up stance, down stance. One last thing. I'm not sure whether I covered this or not. Of course, why do we want to swap phases? Why do we want to swap phases? If I'm a Pokemon that benefits in field phase, why should I ever leave field phase? Good question. The reason why we want to leave phases every now and again is because not only do we gain a ridiculous amount of synergy gauge from swapping phases, but we also gain and lose health, depending if I am the one who, of course, initiate the field phase. Like, if I do some damage against Pikachu now, you can see, just look at their health bar for a second. You can see that dark green portion of their health? That's coming up. Now I hit them with a phase swap. I swap phases with them. Recoverable HP reduced. They will lose a portion of their recoverable health. And how do they gain that recoverable health back? By swapping phases. So not only do swapping phases allow you to remove a part of their recoverable health, but actually get some of your health back and meter. So swapping phases very frequently is really, really good in this game. You'll gain synergy gauge, no problem at all, and you'll completely remove the health. So that was just all one last thing that I needed to cover there. So that should do it for our first video. Of course, hopefully in the future we'll be coming out with character overviews to give you an idea of their game styles, their game plan, their normal moves, and how to do combos with them, how to combo, and maybe some online ranked videos to try and actually show off some of these more fancier combos in the future. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Of course, if you have enjoyed this video, of course feel free to subscribe to NBA Gaming's YouTube channel for videos in the future. And my name is NBA BP Tank, and I will see you guys later.